Well, hello there. So in this video, we're going to be doing the second free response practice in Unit 7. So again, adapted from an AP test. And so we're just going to start and say, assume the U.S. economy is below full employment. So again, this is one that we identify as a recession. And so they give you the real GDP, balanced budget, all that. Draw ADAS, label PL1, Y1, YF. That's been actually pretty much the norm for the last several years. Is they just ask you to start every single time like that. If I were to put money on what's the first question on the AP test, it'll probably look just like that. They almost never differ from that. So they're not too terribly unpredictable, right? Just for funsies, I'm going to write GDPR this time. See that you can be creative in this class, right? You can use different letters. How exciting. Okay, that was not that cool of a statement. I get it. Y1 and PL1. Okay, so we kind of have set up the board as a way to think about it. You're playing a board game here. And so then the next part says that they increase their spending, government does, on goods and services by 100, financed by borrowing. How will the increase in spending affect each of the following? Cyclical unemployment, the natural rate of unemployment. And so if they increase G, we'd say that therefore increases aggregate demand. Right? We know that that's true because G is included in aggregate demand. And so with part B1, we would say, well, we know that aggregate demand is going to rise to some extent. It didn't ask us to graph it, but if it makes you feel better, ta-da, they've graphed it. And when that happens, no matter what, the new intercept point of SRAS and aggregate demand would be some larger amount of output. And so there would be fewer people who are unemployed in the cyclical unemployment category because cyclical unemployment is from the recession. So decrease, right? But then part 2 says the natural rate. Now this is requiring you to think back from a whole unit ago. The natural rate, right, is just structural and frictional unemployment. And so actually this is kind of corresponding to the natural rate is this level. And so the natural rate isn't going to change because YF didn't move around, right? What did move around was the other value, Y2, the actual amount of output. But the YF didn't move around, and so we'd say no change. Okay. C, if the MPC is 0.75, calculate the maximum possible change, really blah, 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 from 100 increase in spending. So we have the initial change, right? In this case, that is given to us. And then we need the spending multiplier, and we need to know the maximum change. So this is what we're looking for. And we're given this, and when we can solve for that. So we have positive 100. And then the spending multiplier is 1 over 0.25, so it's 4. So 400 is our correct answer here, okay? Now assume that instead of financing the government spending by borrowing, they increase taxes by 100. With this equal increase in spending and taxes, will real GDP go up, down, stay the same? Explain. So this is that tricky problem I told you about, and you were not going to get it wrong, correct? You don't even need the multipliers to do this. All you have to know is if G goes up and T goes up in equal parts, therefore increase in aggregate demand or output by 100. And that's because, right, because it does say explain, because the spending multiplier is larger than the tax multiplier. And that's a perfectly acceptable answer to say this, because the spending multiplier is one larger than the tax multiplier. All right, hopefully this helped you. See you next time.